All right. Welcome to folks on the stream. We're running a few minutes behind getting the stream up and going, but I think we're ready now. Got technical difficulties out of the way. All right, folks in the room, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome. Want to give a warm welcome to Jerramy Wood. Very excited to have him here with us today. And again, just to kind of refresh how this flow is going to go, because we're kind of new to this. Jerramy's put together some insights about him. Again, I gave each of the candidates a bit of a template here, so no points for creativity in terms of crazy presentations and graphics or anything like that. So you'll see pretty similar content, but it's meant to give you insights into who they are as people and leaders and that sort of thing. And then we'll have some time for questions, and I will attempt to remember some of the questions from yesterday for consistency purposes, and so I'll ask Jerramy some of those questions. We'll also take live questions in the room if folks want to raise their hands. We'll take text questions as well. In the room, we've got the number up here. If you're on the stream, I think we've actually put the number into the description. Is that the right field? All right. In the description on the stream. So y'all who are on the stream, you can see the number there, and you can text questions in there. And that's obviously only if you are live. If you're watching the recording, then that will not work. So just a quick reminder there. And then the last thing I'll just say is, after all of this, end of the day Friday or beginning of the day Monday, we will be sending out surveys for everyone to be able to provide feedback on each of the candidates as well. So that's kind of how this is all set up. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jerramy. Here you go.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. How's everybody doing today? Well, I appreciate you taking your time out to come listen to me talk a little bit about myself, which is not hard to do because I love me. So let's do it. All right, so this is the agenda for today. A little bit of what Ryan just told everybody. I'll just do a quick introduction so everybody understands who I am and where I come from before I hit the next slide. As you can see, my name is Jerramy Lee Wood. I was born in Savannah, Georgia on June 1st, 1977. I grew up a military child, so I moved around a lot. Moved back to Savannah whenever I was 16. And then as soon as I graduated high school, I had to get out. So graduated high school, joined the Army, and I spent the last 26 years in the Army. Culminating my career in the Army as a command sergeant major, brigade level command sergeant major of the 2nd Combat Aviation Brigade in South Korea. Just transitioned, and I will be retired from the military on April 21st of this year. So I am married. I have 4 children. Been married for almost 21 years now. So, long time for that to work out. A lot of hurdles and everything, but being hard-headed helps overcome all that stuff. So I appreciate, again, your time, and we will start this right now. All right, so as I said earlier, I moved around a lot. At the age of 14, I moved in with my real father who lived in Killeen, Texas. And part of the daily routine was working as a ranch hand. So we had a couple of horses there. He had some friends that owned some other houses or some other ranches, and we would go do the baling of the hay and throw it out for everybody. Go and take care of the goats, the cows, and all that kind of stuff. And then my daily chores were taking care of the horses and the goats that were at our house. So that opened me up to a lot of things whenever I was very young. It opened me up to the point of appreciation that can be accomplished whenever you put your mind to it. And at the end of the day, it showed me what the hospitality of other people can be and what a true firm handshake really means, and the appreciation and the agreement process whenever you say, I'll do something for somebody else. My favorite job. So, I just spent the last 7 years sergeant major at different echelons. And I got to touch the lives of so many people. It was extraordinary. It was one of the events where every day brought a new challenge to you. As you walk around and you see somebody and what they're doing and how they're working for you, you get to learn that person, how they are, and what you can get out of them. And at the end of the day, in the military, it's all about the people. Without the people, the military wouldn't go anywhere. So I bring that same concept forward in understanding it's a people first activity. If it's not for the people, then nothing is going to get accomplished. So there's two priorities that I have, and those priorities are people and tools. If I have the people and I have the tools, then everything will be accomplished. There's no question to it. So it's just that hard work factor to get everybody on the grind. My top 3 professional accomplishments. So I did earn my master's degree in science of leadership, organizational leadership, and I graduated with honors. And I say that because I didn't do too hot in high school. I was a 5-year high school student. So, schooling was not very important to me until I matured and understood the importance that comes along with it, the dedication to it. So as a personal goal, me and my wife both have master degrees. I have earned the title of Command Sergeant Major at a selection rate of 0.03 against my peers and my seniors. So if you take that number, I was selected number 14 out of approximately 300,000 whenever you look across the board. And those numbers only get smaller as you progress through your echelons. Whenever I retired from the military, or whenever I left my last job, I was actually categorized as the number 1 aviation sergeant major in the Army. So they were looking at giving me a division, but I had to walk away and say no, thank you. The last thing that I bring forward as accomplishments are the orders of St. Michael, St. Martin, and St. Barbara. And I throw those 3 out there because they're 3 entirely different spectrums of a professional approach and what they do. So the Order of St. Michael is an aviation award that is given for contributions over a certain amount of time at a certain level. The Order of St. Martin is for the logistical branch in the Army, and the Order of St. Barbara is for the air defense artillery branch. As an aviation person, for me to hold all 3 of those is very rare. And it just meant that my contributions went across the bow instead of concentrating on one specific thing. So we supported missions all across nations, all across peninsulas, and all the different things that we were doing. And as a result, somebody said, hey, you did a great job and I want to recommend you something for it. So I walk away and I get to wear three medals around my neck as I walk away at the end of the day. My approach, I put 3 different approach things at the top there so that you can understand that I look at things in a lot of different processes. So I like linear processes. I like checklists. I like things that say, if you follow step 1, you'll get to step 2, no problem. And then that gives me the ability to have a measure of performance and balances at the end of it so that I can come back and say, well, did you do step 1? Step 1 was accomplished, step 2, and just go on down that board and say, okay, this is either where we exploited everything and did a great job, or this is where it went wrong. And it's pretty easy to do that in sequence. As a multi-directional orientation, I have the ability to juggle a lot of different platforms. So I can look at one thing and still recognize something else going on somewhere else. And I say that because as a command sergeant major, I had a lot of programs that were under my rule. And I would sit there and look at all of them. And I was in charge of maintenance for a fleet of 200 aircraft and about 13,000 vehicles at one point. So, having those key pieces under you makes you multi-oriented so that you can see across the bow. And direct. So I'm a very direct person. If I think something, I say it. If I see it, then I call it out. If I am looking to talk to somebody, then it's direct to that person individually. It's not direct in an aggressive manner. It's just in a direct manner so that it's not time consuming, because time is an essence. So if I can get to you and get it resolved, then it's a plus for everybody. It just makes it a lot easier for me. My approach to the biggest impacts in my life, that's my family. I'm not very family oriented as growing up. I do have one brother, but I'm a child of 2 that lived, 9 that overall. So I had 7 siblings that didn't make it. So my life structure was a little bit different than the traditional structure. So I come from a different thinking background. Right now, the only lasting family members that I have, with the exception of my wife and children, is my brother, and he lives in San Antonio. What did I learn from my worst boss? Communication and follow-up. Those are the biggest things that I can tell you can either ruin a relationship or give you the platform to build upon and go and accomplish a lot of things. If you don't have clear, concise communication, then it's just chaos going around. Nobody understands. Nobody knows where to go. Nobody knows why to go. And I think those are important to know. I also learned to listen to my gut. So if my stomach tells me that something's wrong, then something's wrong. I got 45 years of listening to that thing, and it hasn't done me any wrong yet. So I'm just gonna stick with it. The thing that my best boss taught me is listening to others and understanding before I react. In the military, you come under the time crunch, and there are a lot of things where you react instantaneously, not even knowing what's going on or why it happened or anything. And I would imagine that it's a lot like that here. There's always something going on. There's always a priority that trumps another priority. There's always somebody doing something that needs you in a place that you're not at. So taking that time to sit back, step into the shoes of that other individual so that you truly understand where they're coming from, why they need it, and where they were trying to go so that you can help them accomplish that has done me well. And I had a boss who taught me that very, very well. I asked Ryan earlier about the APWA awards program and how does it work around here? And there's room for improvement as always, right? And I think that's important because if you reward somebody for their hard work, then they're more inclined to give it more hard work because they feel validated, they feel respected, they feel appreciated at the end of the day. And if you don't feel appreciated, then why are you coming around? Why do you come to work? You're miserable. You're there to get a check. And that's not the structure that I believe in. I believe in having people around that want to be there. And I have to make you want to be there. So if I recognize you, then I'm helping with that. My top 3 things that I've seen work well with large teams. Trust. Trust is the number one thing that a team must have. And as a senior or a superior, it is absolutely critical that I trust without thought. I have to trust everything that everybody's doing. I have to trust that everybody understands the right way of doing it. And I have to trust you in a way that you are able to move freely and exercise on your own. Now, I owe it to you to follow up on that, but I have to give you that space so that you understand it is from a professional standpoint that trust is given. On the backside of that, I have to earn the trust of everybody else because nobody knows me from Eve. Like, nobody knows me from anything other than the slide presentation that's up here right now. And I could just be sitting here and filling you full of junk right now and saying what I think is appropriate. But over time, you learn to trust me. You learn to dedicate to me. You learn to give to the things that are for the greater good of the organization and the city of Chattanooga. And at the end of the day, that's what everybody's goal is, right? Developing procedural processes. Like I said earlier, I like the linear processes. So it creates the checks and balances at the end of the day so that we can see where things go right and where they go wrong. And I truly think that if you have those in the establishment, then it gives you your framework so that you have your left and right parameters and you know where you can operate freely. And within that, it gives me the opportunity to follow up without even discussing anything with you. I just know exactly where it's at. Lastly, is ensuring the team has all the tools required for the set goals. I have seen several times where team members try to operate where they're not resourced properly. And it is a structural damage that takes place whenever that happens because they can't fulfill what everybody needs. So it is important for me to have the people in place with the proper tools so that the mission can get done. If you don't have those tools, then you have a reason why it can't be done. But if I give you everything you need, then there's no reason that it can't. All right? Some of what I could bring to the challenges and opportunities here. So I first want to say that I acknowledge that there are challenges in every profession across the world, no matter what it's doing, whether it's picking up trash, whether it's dropping off paper, whether it's driving somebody, fixing an elevator, anything. There's challenges that are associated with it. And I will tell you that for me, what I bring to you is the opportunity to go through the challenges together. I'm not going to lay the burden on your shoulders and say it's your fault. At the end of the day, it's my fault. If I'm selected for this job, then it's my fault. It's my responsibility. And I owe you that. Now, I will hold accountability to say, hey, these are the things that are in place that need to happen. But if it goes wrong, then I didn't do something right so that you can look back and say, hey, we need to discuss this. One of the things I read about whenever I was applying for this job and then talking with Ryan as well is employee engagement challenges and some of the things that have been brought forward or brought out into the different readings that are out there for everybody. So I want to strike that. I want to go to that category so that you understand exactly where I'm coming from. My dedication is to you and the organization well before myself. So I have the means to make it without anything else, but I want to make it enjoyable for everybody. I want to be here for you. I want to be here so that you understand that success driven professionalism is something that we can accomplish together, and nobody has to do it in isolation. Nobody deserves to be working in a hostile work environment. Nobody deserves to be chastised in public or any of that stuff. So just know that at the end of the day, my goal is to treat everybody with dignity and respect and as a proper human being. And I expect the same thing in return. I also have a lot of experience in large developments and infrastructure, but a lot different than what everybody's used to here. So in the city of Chattanooga, you have a lot of different things that help build Chattanooga continuously. My experience comes from putting people into harm's way from the ground up. And whenever I say that, it's going on deployments and establishing bases that are there. So where I push soldiers out on continuous basis and actually have to give them a life support cycle that they rely on continuously. And without that, they would not be successful. So I have to go through all the nooks and crannies to accomplish that. Now, I will admit that it's a little bit different as far as a streamlined process in the military, because I do have the opportunity to just walk over to somebody and say, hey, I need this more than you. It's mine. I'm taking it. We can't really do that here. So I know that there are differences in that. But understanding what it took to get to that point is the same no matter where you go. And understanding that there are department heads for all of it. So you got subject matter experts and you got team leads that are there to answer those hard questions at the end of the day, to say, hey, this is right or this is wrong, and this is the direction that we're going. And then stand at the top and say, all right, it was either fulfilled or it wasn't. So that's where my experience comes in. Now, that's not the only experience that I have. My experience in life has been grand. I've seen a lot of different things across the board, and I've been a lot of different places to see exactly what goes on in the world continuously, on what works and what doesn't. So that's who I am, and that's what I bring to the game. And with that, I think it is now open to questions, right? All right, there we go.
All right, get this other mic going here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Jerramy. So let me start off with a couple questions that we had yesterday that, just for consistency's sake, I'll bring to you. Thanks, Ronald. So the first question we had yesterday was around work from home. So maybe a little bit of a different question for you, but what are your thoughts on a work from home policy? I'll just kind of leave that open.
Well, I will say I don't know what the exact policy is here in place right now. I will tell you from the experience that we've had dealing with COVID, the work from home opportunity has definitely proven itself to be a viable effort. I think the hands-on pieces that and processes that go into place are something that is irreplaceable. So there are some people that just have to come to work. But I do recognize that there are plenty of opportunities where you don't necessarily have to sit in your office to talk on that screen. You can do it from the comforts of your own home or the car that you're driving at the time. So there's some flexibility that is in there that's recognized across the board with the tragedies that we've endured over the past few years. So I'm not against it, but I'm not exactly for it for everybody either. So
Is that because his isn't working, or? It's gonna switch mics. Okay. Okay, can you stand over here? Okay. All right.
we got to redo the whole thing.
We didn't make you do any makeup or anything, so that's good.
I can dance if y'all want me to too.
All right. All right. Second question that came yesterday, which I think was a good one, was how would you include diversity, equity, inclusion in some of the big decisions that you would be making, whether that's personnel, whether that be other kind of policy decisions?
I would tell you, I come from a place where everybody's the same. I think everybody starts off at a neutral level, and the only things that make you better are your experiences, your opportunities that are given to you, and how you shine with them. I don't really go into how can I say this appropriately? In the military, everybody was exactly the same. So no matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, you are the same because you put on that uniform and you were dedicated to the exact same values that I was. And that's what I've lived for 43 of my 45 years. So with that, it's a lot of treating everybody with that proper dignity and respect. It's the pieces of nobody's going to get anything extra unless you put in the extra. Like that's how you reward it. So if there's a time and effort where it comes into play where we have to think about the individualisms, then it's going to be on that person and not exactly how they look or where they're from or any of that stuff. It'll be exactly what they produce to. So I think it's incredibly important that we acknowledge the differences in everybody from a professional standpoint so that everybody is treated the same. Can you understand what I'm saying? So that's where it goes. And then I want to say that acknowledgement of the differences in everybody is important whenever it comes to the overall accomplishment of what we do as an organization, because it takes everybody as a whole. Without the upbringing that somebody comes from or their ethnic background or any of that, it changes exactly the diversity of the entire organization. So acknowledge that and appreciate that somebody was willing to give what they do give every day whenever they come in, just like you do.
Okie dokie. Other questions from the group? Anyone want to raise a hand? Got a mic today.
First of all, I want to say go dogs.
I love it. I love it.
Also, describe your leadership style. What type of leader?
I'm an inclusive leader. So I think everybody has their role and everybody needs to strive to do better in that role. Me as a leader, I am the type of person that is right there with you step by step. So if there's trash in my office, I take my trash out. I mean, anybody come take my trash out, it's fine. If my car breaks down, I try to fix it. If I can't fix it, I call a tow truck, just like everybody else. So from a leadership perspective, I want to experience the things that you experience on a daily basis, because that brings an appreciation at the end of the day that I'm willing to stand by your side no matter what it is. I won't be there every day. There's other things that call me in different directions. But as a leader, presence is important, confidence is important, and more than anything, effort is important. And that's what you get from me. So I will be there for the rain. I'll be there for the sunshine. I'll be there when Ryan calls me and tells me to get my behind back into work because we missed. You will.
All right. Other questions? Yeah, Josh.
So as career military, you're leaving here and you could probably choose to go do any number of things. Why public works?
So I actually found this job just by chance. This wasn't something that I was absolutely looking for. But one of the biggest things for me is this area. I have always loved what I saw whenever I drove into Chattanooga. I would come in from Clarksville and we would be driving to Athens and Etowah and Inglewood, where my wife's family is. And it always struck me. I was always curious because I would see the warehouses and I'm like, what are we doing with those? Why is there nothing there? Why have they been sitting there for umpteen years and nobody's touched it? I didn't understand it. So then I start looking into it and it intrigues me. I want to make it better. As a man, I have come into this world to try to leave everything I found it. And, it's no different for public works. This is my opportunity to give back to everybody else, for the community in the city of Chattanooga, the state of Tennessee. That's something I into America and do it for the place I love.
Yep.
You're doing good so far.
I
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thank you. Sounds like another Go Dogs to me.
You'll have to get my wife for that one. So one thing that makes Chattanooga great is our natural resources. They're assets to the city. How do you feel about protecting those assets? As we're obviously in a growth spurt, and it's very important to a lot of people. So how do you feel about that?
I would say the infrastructure of everything being green is something that's new to me because it's always been we just take what we want whenever you're in the military. So if it's land that we need, we take it. It's mine now, you know. So I would say I've had to learn a different appreciation for life as we come back home and start working things here. You know, there's a contradiction in there or a conflict in there where it's we want to grow, but we want to keep. And you know, it's not necessarily an easy thing that we can do on both sides. I think it's incredibly important to keep the environment in a safe, structured area, but it's not feasible to be able to do that in every step of everything that we're trying to do with growth. So I would say we implement the plans on keeping it where we can and how we can, and then we're strategic about where we grow, and why we grow there.
All right. Other questions? I'm not seeing anything coming in over the text at all, so which is fine. But any other questions from y'all? We got lots of time. Lots of time.
I'm here all day. I've been saying it all day today. And I am here until about 6 o'clock tonight. So y'all got me.
Other questions?
Learn anything
Maria.
you want about me.
I'll recant a good one from yesterday. So, without reciting the job description, what do you envision this role to be?
So I see this role as a figurehead, someone who answers the hard questions, but I get the answers to those hard questions through these subject matter experts that are working the everyday routines of it all. The one that takes the blame whenever things go wrong, the one that answers to that platform, and more than anything, a cohesive part of the team that helps mold everything together so that we rely not only in one department, but across the entire organization so that we're fulfilling everything because there's going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to say, and it's going to happen continuously, you know, and I have to be the person that either delivers that bad news or makes a great decision, one or the other. And that's where I see it at the end of the day. So I'm implementing things and helping people to accomplish what the city and the mayor want.
All right. Anyone else? All right, Matthew.
Communication is obviously a big part of our job, especially mine. How would you, yeah, how would you celebrate our victories?
You mean from a networking standpoint?
To our citizens, mostly.
We all got to be the poster child at the end of the day, right? Have our picture taken, showing something off to say, hey, we're doing this hard work for everybody and we're giving it back to the community. And I think you do that in the community itself. And there's a lot of different ways that you can. Of course, in person is my preferred method because I want to be able to shake hands and tell everybody exactly where we're going. And at the end of the day, you have to exploit the things that we've found power in over the past couple of years. So you use your social media assets and get a platform that's bigger than just Chattanooga so everybody can see it and they want to be what Chattanooga is at the end of the day.
All right, we finally got one in. This is an issue with compensation and vacancies. We're not always compensated for education and experience. Would you be willing to help break the divide?
Absolutely. I am a believer in continued growth. I think education is incredibly important at this point, and I tell you that because I didn't have it when I was growing up. You know, whenever I say I was a knucklehead doing dumb things, that's exactly who I was. And I found that through trying to be somebody better than where I was in the beginning. So trying to figure those things out is the only right thing to do whenever it comes to the people that you're supporting every day. And yes, I would absolutely be bought in on fixing that wrong to make it so that everybody gets what they deserve. I want to continue my education. So it's just as important to me doing it as it is for everybody else.
All right. Anyone else? Well, Jerramy will stick around here to do some meeting and greeting for folks who want to stick around and chat. And with that, we'll. Oh, nope. Nope, we're not done.
I got happy for a minute, huh?
Hold on. Our last administrator, made some decisions, some large decisions based on discussions only with management. Would you include frontline individuals in decisions? If so, how?
I believe getting to the root cause of anything, and I'm not in a place to speak on what the last administrator did. I have no idea. I wasn't a part of it. And I really don't want to impart on what decisions he was making or she. I don't even know who it was. So that's not a place that I'm going to go. I'm not going to badmouth anybody for anything they've done. But I do believe that inclusion is the right route. I believe that people at the very bottom need to know why. And I believe that because I've come from a place where you operate autonomously like a robot and you don't even understand what the end conclusion is supposed to be. You just know that you were told to go over there and do this. Made no sense. At the end of it, you were told to go back over here and do something somewhere else, and you didn't even see that to get completed. So I think it is absolutely incredibly important to include somebody at the lowest level to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why. These are the things that we have in place. This is what I can help you with to benefit you in the structure of this whole thing. And a lot of people don't know that until somebody tells them. You know, I've been dealing with leaders for a long time that didn't consistently keep people informed on what was right and what was wrong. I'm a transparent book. You want to see what's right and what's wrong? I'm right here. If you want to point your finger, I'm right here. It's okay. But I owe that to you. I have no problem with it. You know, I'm an adult. I can take the criticism, and we can applaud together whenever we win.
Okay. All right. Last call for any more questions. Going once, going twice. All right, we're going to wrap up. Thank y'all. And again, Jeremy's going to be here for probably another 30 minutes or so if folks want to stick around and visit. And we will post this so people can access the recording. Can y'all give a quick round of applause for Jerramy? Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.